Hi. So once again I'm here with my new video, and this video is related to the process approach. I hope on day-to-day basis you use this terminology in your organizations. But what is actually the process approach and how it contributes towards the organization growth? This is very important topic to understand, because whatever the terminology we are using in our organization, so it is important to understand the meaning and the interpretation of that terminologies, because if the people who is utilizing this terminology, if they are aware, then they can decide the right process approach, and your process approach will definitely give you the desired output or desired result. So let's understand this process approach through this presentation. So each and every person or each and every process needs some desired output or desired result. So I hope all of you agree on that. But important is how we achieve this desired output or desired result. So to get the desired result, it is important that whatever the activity we have to do, we have to divide all these activity into small activities, which is called process. So here I have mentioned three different processes: process A, process B, and process C. So process A, the output of this process A will be the input for the process B. So when you club all these activities, so that will give you the desired results. But one thing which is very important to understand, that that is the interaction between these two processes. Interaction between process A to process B and process B to process C, because this interaction is very important, but most of the time we don't consider this interaction. So this is very important to understand this interaction between two processes, and we need some control over each and every process. And what could be the process management? The process management, the first is a role and responsibility. Who is the responsible for process A and what will be their role? So this is very important, because most of the time there is one failure with respect to the system, and that failure is if the person responsibility is not clearly defined. So in that kind of situation, definitely failure will be there. So it is very important to identify the role and responsibility and the output results. What actually you want from these processes. And the third thing is internal communication. Internal communication, from where you will get the information, and once the all the process will complete, so for whom you will report, or what kind of information you will provide to your senior or next department or next process. And the next is related to the required competence and the skill for that particular process. So if you understand the need and expectation of this interaction and the individual processes, so on the basis of that, you can define the competence and the skill for that particular process. The next is related to required resources. Resources could be packing or handling requirements, and sometimes the process and product requirements, and monitoring and measurement, where you need the monitoring and where you need the measurement requirements. So that is also important, and sometimes work environment is also important. And if you talk about the specific process and the product requirement, so sometimes in some of the industries they are having some specific kind of product, like in electronic company, so some ESD requirements are there. So similarly, some other processes where some special kind of requirements are there, it is related to the process or the product. So important is, in normally in organizations, processes are having the control over the process A, process B, and process C. But important is in between. when this process A will interact with process B, so there are some requirements like product storage, how you will store. Because if you have not defined the product storages, then definitely this can lead to the failures. Similarly, material identification. Material identification and traceability is also important. And sometimes some work environment is requirement. So whatever the output of the process A, some work environment means are related to the temperature, are related to the humidity is also important, because if we do not keep the material in right condition, so that output of the process A will not suffice the purpose for the process B. So that's why it is very important, if whatever the output we have received from the process A, if it is not the right input for the process B, so failure will be there. That's why it is very important to define the control over the interaction process also. In sometimes what happens, like in heat treatment process, some annealing processes are there, some in molding processes. If we are molding some components, so it is important we have to keep these parts for 2 hours or for 3 hours in ambient temperature. So suppose if we have not defined the control over the interaction process, so definitely you will not achieve your desired results. So important is कि normally in organization, what happened, we define the control over the process A, process B and process C and the desired result. So we understand all this, but important is we have to define the same kind of controls or management that is on the interaction when the process A will interact with the process B. So that is very important. So when we define the control over the each and every individual process and when the interaction between these processes, so that is called process approach. And definitely this process approach will help you to minimize the failures, and this will help you to get your desired result. So this is called process approach, the entire system which we have defined, that is called process approach. So I hope you like this video about the process approach, and this video will give you the clarity about this process approach terminology. So if you think this is really helpful to your organization, so you can share this video to your colleagues and the team members. So thank you very much.